up here, the top left. A very strong Terran player.
I am Yoda.
At least that's what I've been told.
And he's in a black uniform, so I'm sure that's going to give him good luck.
On the right side of the map, his opponent.
SC for you.
Neither of these players really need much of an intro because they're so good. Obviously, they're the ace players. Yoda, someone I don't know a whole lot about, but he qualified for Code A. He's really good. I've heard a lot about him. I've heard he's a really strong player. A lot of FXO players play him on the ladder, talk about him. So I know he's definitely a top player. And to be the ace player it's an honor. It means that he's definitely a top player. So that in itself is all the intro he really needs. And of course, if you guys haven't watched Star Wars, you don't know who Yoda is, the character in Yoda, I won't even tell you anything about him. You should watch Star Wars. Why haven't you watched Star Wars yet? What's wrong with you? I mean, earlier, George was telling me all these movies I should watch, but if you haven't seen Star Wars,
only 4, 5, and
avoiding
6. The other ones don't waste your time.
We'll have a discussion about that later. I think that they're okay. The 1, 2, and 3.
Oh God,
they're not as good, but we'll have a discussion about this later, maybe after at dinner or something, back at the GOM house. Because if we have this discussion now, we're not going to commentate any of the games. The game's going to end. We're going to be on camera, like punching each other.
Yeah, I'd be fighting. I was about to say we should probably choose a location that's not on a floor above 3. Otherwise, I might throw you out a window.
All right, so right now, SC is actually going for a 1 barracks expand, whereas his opponent got a normally timed gas. And so it's looking like SC, he's going to try to expand early, whereas his opponent's going to have a lot of options to pressure him. It's not a fast gas, so it's not going to be super fast Cloak Banshees. In fact, it might not be any sort of Banshee or Hellion tech at all.
They're both playing about even. Almost everything they're doing is the same. Yoda choosing to wall in while SE is playing a bit more inside his base. He's also placing his supply depot in a way that he can be able to scout drops later on.
That's true. And there's the factory going down for Yoda. Get a shot of it in a minute. And speaking of shots of things, this SCV just got shot. And you guys got a shot of it. Didn't get in there, didn't see anything. Knows where his opponent is, but that is all he knows.
Second command center coming down for SC FOU. He is also going to drop down 2 refiners at the same exact time. It's a pretty standard build. Get some gas a little bit later, but then he's going to give him that second command center, so he's going to get more mules, more scans, and more SCVs.
That's
assuming
true.
He can survive the early banshing pressure if that's what Yoda chooses to do.
No, Yoda did make a pretty quick second gas, so I'm thinking he may actually decide to go for Banshees.
He can go for Banshees with this. It's not a fast second gas, so he's probably not going to be going for a fast cloak. But even in a situation like this, you can get that Banshee out there and force SC to stay on 1 base, even though he does have 2 command centers.
Yeah, he doesn't really know that his opponent doesn't have gas, or rather didn't open up with gas. He doesn't really know his opponent's expanding. That Banshee can give him a lot of good scouting information if he decides to use it, but he is making a Hellion right off the bat, and we'll find out if he's going to make a Tech Lab now. And indeed he is. That Hellion doesn't really indicate that he's going to go pre-igniter Hellions. There's a shot of our tower in the middle. There's a little timer on it. You guys see maybe if he clicks on it. But when that tower blows up, it means that you can no longer use it for... It's actually, I think the reason they implemented it was for TVT, so you can no longer kind of control the middle of the map with your tanks after that stage.
Yeah, in a lot of those maps, if you did control the watchtowers early on and just left tanks there, it was very, very hard to take those positions.
Yep, and here comes the units up the ramp. And there's way too many Marines here, and Yoda going to lose a lot.
That's a big mistake from Yoda there. You really can't lose that many units early on in the game. However, he does have the Banshee coming out with Cloak. It's not going to be very quick, but it's going to be probably timed right when SC is going to want to go for a second expansion, or second base.
And a scan does see the starport, but he does not see the Cloak research. He can assume it, but even so, it's not a very good thing to assume. Now, as far as tech goes for SC, he's just now getting his starport. Doesn't have stim, so it's going to be very difficult to deal with Banshees in general, even if they didn't have Cloak, because regular Marines just do so poorly against Banshees if they're controlled properly. And he doesn't have a Viking, he's not going to have one for a while, and that's going to make it really rough on him. And right now, it looks like SC is going to move out with his Marines.
The Banshee just skirting around the base, looking for the exact opening that he wants to take. There's no expansion up quite yet. The Zelnaga Tower also did just explode. It was quite glorious. Unfortunately, we didn't get a shot of it. This Banshee moving in, able to take down a few SCVs. It's exactly what he needs to be doing right now to be able to get back in this game. The SCVs are going to come back quite quickly, but he's able to 8 kills, I think that is right now. 7 kills, 8 kills.
And he hasn't even used that cloak yet.
Now cloak is just finished. He can cloak. He's going to force a scan with it. He's not going to be able to do too much damage.
Yeah,
but,
the thing about forcing the scan too is that he's probably going to miss with the scan, or he should be able to keep his Banshee alive for the first scan. Maybe not. Just
wow,
barely.
that was beautiful by Yoda.
And now he can come back, and if he forces another scan, that's basically almost 600 minerals lost in implicit cost there, in using a mule or a scan rather than a mule.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah. I don't know why I said implicit. And it looks like this Banshee, this time, will she fall?
This one will fall, but it did take 2 scans to take it out.
Yeah,
and then he can bring the other one back in if he wants to. However, it has moved back across the map somewhere. Oh, there we go. It's in the lower right of the map. It should be able to come back into the fight once it's built up enough energy to be able to get a long scanning or long cloak again. Also, that allowed Yoda to be able to take a second base. He's going to be behind in mules, and he's going to be a little bit behind in SCVs. Oh no, excuse me. He's actually slightly ahead. He's behind in almost nothing at the moment, actually.
Yeah, that harassment did quite well for Yoda. And now that he has his expansion up and running, he's actually mining from it, rather than his opponent, who's kind of just making SCVs out of his, who's not really secure about moving his command center. He's got that insecure command center that just doesn't want to float down to the natural. And, you know, Yoda has got the better SCV count. He's starting to get the tank count up there. His siege mode just finished. Whereas his opponent doesn't really have much of an army.
And this is really, really good for Yoda. He is moving his army in. He's going to be able to siege up the natural of SC and just be able to hold him in that position. There is a larger air force out for SC, so maybe if this battle goes for quite a while, he will be able to use that to his advantage. But for now, it's going to keep him on one mining base, and that's going to give Yoda a huge lead for a little while.
Yeah, in fact, if he just sieges up outside and spreads his units well, it's going to be very difficult for SC to even want to try to break down the ramp. This Banshee is going to be quite helpful. Does take out that Hellion with her. And the SCV comes out to scout, sees the entire army outside the base. We can get a shot of it. So yeah, back in the base of Yoda, as you guys just saw, he's added more production facilities. He's adding a lot of bio to support his forces, wants to supplement those tanks. And I think he decided to back away. As I think that's maybe what he was going to say. He decided to back away and go home. I think that's smart, because if you get caught in a weird spot and you lose all your army, it's not worth it. So he's just doing a soft contain.
Yeah, if you were to stay up really close to the natural of SC, the problem is that the reinforcements from SC are immediately right there. It also, because there's Banshees out, he did see that Banshee come, he does need to keep units at home as well, so he can't even bring his reinforcements immediately over to the front. Exactly. And after a few waves of units, he's going to be really far behind. And if you're in a fight like that with Terran versus Terran, you can just get annihilated without your opponent losing much at all. Not a situation you want to be in. So we do have the Banshee doing a little bit of harassment damage on the natural, taking out a few SCVs, but the Viking does come in, the Marines come in, it's going to force it to go away. Yep. There is no cloak on this Banshee, so it's not going to be able to do nearly as much damage as Yoda's Banshees did earlier in the game.
He is really persistently chasing that Banshee too, but she will escape. Right now, supply-wise, it's 99 supply for Yoda to 86 supply for SC. SC going to try to move around here, maybe siege up and hit these production facilities. I like that. He's seen where they are. He knows exactly where he can siege up, and he should go up and siege up next to that cliff, but he's actually going to do the opposite. Close call there. Does not want to run into sieged up tanks.
One Marine getting sacrificed to give vision for one shot. It's the exact shot that he did need. He is able to take down one siege tank without losing his own. He can pull that siege tank back and repair it. Also, right before that battle happened, the Viking of Yoda was able to take out the Banshee of SC in Yoda's natural base.
I'm actually really surprised that we didn't see SC try to siege up and hit the factory. He could hit the barracks, the factory, and the starport all from one location if he had sieged his tanks up there. But instead he got really nervous, or maybe that wasn't his original plan with that move out. But even so, it wasn't a huge blunder for him to lose. He didn't lose that many units, just lost a tank.
Yeah, it would have been really nice to be able to do that damage, which is almost exactly what we're seeing here from Yoda. However, SC would have been in a slightly better position in that fight. The drop is going to be on the high ground, so he's going to get Marines up there. However, there's going to be a tank to be able to zone them out a little bit, but 2 waves of medevac Marines is going to be able to do a lot of damage to these supply depots and put them on a supply lock for a little bit. The siege tanks are also able to shell the high grounds.
Yep, and tanks battling it out, scans going down on both sides. Neither player can really see their opponent's tanks, and these Marines doing so much damage, taking out supply depots left and right. The dropship may go down to a Viking, but just doing so much damage here, and his opponent can't chase these Marines on because he'll just fall back to the siege tanks. It looks like he will end up finally cleaning that up.
SC with a bit of miss micro there. He forced this first line of Marines to shoot, which prevented the Marines from behind from fighting, so he lost a bit more units than he really needed to. Yoda realizing that that attack was exactly what he needed and just backing off, not pushing his luck quite yet.
Indeed,
he's going to set up a sensor tower so he can make sure that he doesn't die to any sort of drops from SC.
Yeah, he actually left a tank behind and just got a shot of it there for a second. He has added one factory, so he's gone up to 2 factories. That's something that SC just hasn't really been able to afford quite yet. And this positioning is looking really good for Yoda. He's about 40 supply ahead. He's actually going to maybe try to break through the front here.
He loses 2 tanks immediately. The third one goes down in the next volley. A lot of the Marines are fighting in here. If he's able to take out this Marine force, he is going to be able to push in to take out the natural of SC. All the tanks are gone. He still does have a good number of Marines here. He's going to drop a few auto turrets. They're going to be able to shoot and absorb fire at the same time. And this is really looking good for Yoda.
Yeah, he did a lot of damage with that initial attack. He split his Marines quite well before that fight, and now he's in such great shape. He traded armies really, really well. Oh, just got a shot of a dropship full of units running to their death. And now actually it looks like SC is going to drop units on top of these siege tanks, and that's
really
quite
nice
effective
move. The Marines of Yoda were out of position, so he did lose 2 siege tanks there for almost nothing. Really exactly what SC needed to do. But the Vikings and the reinforcements from Yoda come in to push this force back a little bit and retake the position.
Yeah, he's going to scan here. He's going to want to be careful because there are a lot of Marauders. He doesn't want his tanks to get caught out of position.
And really, he's just trying to get in range so that he can be able to take down this command center a little bit. Once he gets able to damage it, that's when he really starts to gain the lead.
Exactly. And now he can do almost whatever he wants from here. He can make his own 3rd command center. A lot of Marines running too far forward here. Got to be very careful with those Vikings.
Those Marines did help the Vikings of SC to get a little extra damage on the Vikings of Yoda, though, so he did force Yoda to move back with his Vikings. However, we do have a drop coming around from the backside onto SC, and maybe Yoda can be able to take out the supply of SC and force the reinforcements to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe so. I think you're right. This is actually going to be really difficult for SC to deal with because he moves too many units from his natural, then he can of course lose that position that he has. And the tanks are already sieged up in his main. He's going to kill a lot here. Siege tanks can get a lot of volleys off on that bio. This will be cleaned up, but it did so much damage. And meanwhile, it looks like we are going to have a push here in the middle at the front of the natural. Marines stimming and running in. Tanks sieging up as well, and this may be the end for SC.
Yeah, he has lost his drop.
Oh, the SCV is running around, siege tanks shooting at them.
He's going to be able to clean up this fight, but he's not going to have enough SCVs. He is down to only 6 SCVs compared to 60, and a 10th of the SCVs is not really what you want to be doing in this situation. He does know that he's really far behind and is going to go for an all-in right now. It's now or never, but I think it's going to be never.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bad, Torch. Right now, SC is going to move across the map with this last ditch attempt, like you said, the last all-in to try to end this game. Now or never. Just doesn't have enough though. Sieging up. He does catch that tank with some of his Marauders and pulls back to his own siege tank, but there just may be too many units. Is this going to be the end of FOU? GG!
So IM takes the first GSTL Venus match of their league. They are up now. They beat FOU 4-3.
Yeah, it was a pretty close series. I don't think anyone expected it to be this close.
Yeah, that was a very nice fight by FOU. SC did an extremely nice job. Almost took it back, but Yoda was able to defeat him in this final game. See, knock, knock, knock. It's coming.
Oh, he gave
I didn't quite see it.
Over the throat thing.
Oh.
So, nicely done by Yoda. I was impressed by his play. He did a good job. He showed his decision making was quite strong. His Banshee control was good. Saved a lot of those Banshees in the initial part of that game. Did a little bit of economic damage, and his decision making through the mid game was quite good.
Yeah, I think if SC had placed his scans a little bit better and defended against those Banshees a little bit in a little bit of a better way, then he would have been able to maintain his economic lead early on, and that would have changed the game completely. It's interesting to see how a slight little micro advantage can change the tide of a game quite quickly.
That's true. There's Choya in there trying to calm SC down. Choya actually is my favorite coach. I think he does so much for his team. He is very, very supportive. He comes to every single time a FOU player plays. He comes, he cheers them on, and a lot of coaches do that, but I watched Choya, and I feel like he just really cares. I'm not saying the other coaches are bad. I'm just saying he's my favorite. He shows a lot of personality. He's really young, and he's a player himself, and I really, really like him as a coach.
Yeah, and I think in the foreign community, the coach role is really underappreciated. It's something that the Koreans, every single Korean team has at least one coach. Most of them have 2 or 3. And to be able to focus on the mentality of your players and to be able to give them the individual attention that they really need can really help them elevate their gameplay.
Exactly. I mean, it's part of my job on FXO. I have a lot of experience coaching, so
you're going to have to work hard this next week to
get
them ready for next week.
I actually wish I were with the team right now talking about what happened today, but I'll be with them soon. And, part of a coach's role is not just to watch and tell people what to do. It's you've got to yourself coach yourself through your coaching. You got to be like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. That's why it's good to have another coach sometimes. I should be telling the players this, or I should be more positive, or maybe I'm being a little bit too nice, and I should be, you have to learn as a coach your team. So
have a few more anti-rage donuts.
Yeah, sometimes you got to give your team donuts when everyone's frustrated. Sometimes you got to have a team meeting because someone didn't put their socks away.
Uh-oh.
That didn't actually happen. But sometimes that kind of thing can happen.
Yeah. So here's the results from today. SC almost bringing it back for FOU, but ending it 4-3. Happy doing a very nice job for IM.
Yeah, Happy really impressed me. I hadn't seen him at all before, I don't think. I'd heard of him, but hadn't really seen him, but he really did impress me. Younghwa did not disappoint either. Maybe playing a little bit too passive, though, towards the later stages of that game.
And the great thing about the GSTL is we are able to see a lot of these players that don't necessarily get the spotlight in GSL.
Yeah.
The GSL qualifiers for Code A are insanely difficult. And there are some really good players that just aren't in the GSL yet, like Dong Regu. If you haven't seen the matches from yesterday.
네, 안녕하세요, 최연아입니다. 오늘도 역시 치열한 풀세트까지 가는 접전 끝에 IM팀이 승리를 가져갔는데요. 그만큼 승리 소감도 남다르리라고 생각합니다. 강동훈 감독님 승리한 소감이 남다르실 것 같은데 승리 소감 한마디 해주시죠.
일단
How do you feel about
때문에
winning?
기쁘고요. 무엇보다도 지금까지 계속 IM팀은 인재덕, 정종현, 투톱 그리고 그 뒤에 한강호 이렇게 3톱에만 의존하는 그런 팀이
I feel really happy, and I feel like a lot of people
계속
only
노력을
think about
했었는데
MVP and ST.
그걸 조금 빛을 보지 않았나 싶어서
So I wanted to show
우리 신인 선수들도
everyone how the other
정말
players
실력
do and
뛰어난
how good they are.
그런 선수들이기 때문에 앞으로도 꾸준히 관심 부탁드립니다.
네, 미래가 더 기대가 되는 팀이 아닐까 싶은데요. 네, 제 옆에는 오늘 MVP로 선정된 최용화 선수가 나와 있습니다. MVP로 선정돼서 정말 축하드리고요. 사실 마지막 경기라서 심적인 부담이 조금 컸을 것 같은데 어떤 각오로 경기에 임하셨는지 말씀해 주시겠어요?
그냥 하기 전에 제덕이 형이 줘도 된다 해서 그냥 줘도 된다는 생각으로 했어요. 줘도 된다는 생각으로 했는데
저도 된다는 생각을 하셨는데
처음에 찌르기가 막혀가지고
He said he felt really relaxed.
줬다 이
Didn't really care if he won
벤
or
씨가
lost.
갑자기 대박 터져가지고 그리고 상대도 갑자기
He didn't really feel very
벤 씨가
pressured.
조공해줘가지고 좋아졌어요.
대박을 터뜨리는 것도 실력이고
네.
실력입니다. 네, 그리고 우리 앞으로 최병현
He said my
선수
opponent
경기
just handed over
팬들도
his
자주
banshees
보고
to
싶어
me,
할 것
so.
같습니다.
아,
네,
네.
이번 시즌 임하는 각오 한마디 해주시죠.
이번에 일단
What motivates you?
슬레어스 황도영 선수랑 64강에서 하는데 진짜 2대0으로 그냥 아무것도 못하고 그냥 끝났어요. 진짜.
That was kind of
그리고
hard to
그
hear.
뒤에 계시는 분들도
No, he says he wants to play against Slayer's men.
이길 것 같아요.
네,
That's his
앞으로 좋은
motive.
경기 많이 보여주셨으면 좋겠고요.
He doesn't care about
마지막으로
anything
감독님
else.
앞으로 지금 갈 길이 굉장히 먼데요. 시즌이 처음 시작했잖아요. 이번 시즌을 바라보면서 기대하고 있는 팬들에게 한 말씀 해주시죠.
일단은 항상 지켜봐
Any words for
주시고
your
많이
fans?
응원해 주시는 모든 팬분들에게 감사의 말씀을 드리고요.
Thanks for all the
선수들
support.
계세요. 그리고 저희 팀 밑에 신인 선수들 지금 오늘 나온 선수들 이외에도 많은 선수들이 지금 준비하고 있고 또 준비되었기 때문에
We have a lot
다음
of new
경기에서도
players in our
그렇고
team.
그 다음 경기에서도 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 더 노력하도록 하겠습니다.
네, 앞으로 좋은 경기
So we'll show you guys some better
기대하겠습니다.
games in the future.
네, 이상 기분 좋은 첫 승을 가져간 IM팀을 만나봤습니다. 이인환 캐스터 나와주시죠.
Well,
So there you have
guys,
it.
there you have it. Nice little interview there with IM coach and Yoda. I like his attitude was very positive, and it was, as I said, he wanted to show other players are good too. He
Yep.
doesn't want to just be people going, oh, well, there's MVP and there's Nesty. No, Yoda's pretty good. I like that choice, and I know it's kind of probably frustrating actually for Nesty and MVP if they wanted to play, they wanted to show themselves, but they're kind of the older veteran players. Both Nesty and MVP are former StarCraft 1 players, and they've kind of had a little taste of spotlight. They have a lot of experience going in the booth and being there, so it's great to put a player out like Yoda. Although Yoda was just kind of like, I don't really care about anything. I just want to play against Slayer.
I just want to play Min, even though
like,
they're
hey,
not
can you
even
play?
in the
And he
same
was
group.
like, well, that's not Min in that other booth. I don't want to play.
They trick him and like put a little cutout of Min in there. So
But
I wonder where that came from. I don't know if they have a rivalry.
yeah,
or something.
I'm actually going to look that up later. Maybe
Yeah.
someone on Twitter knows, and they'll message me.
Oh, where are they gonna message you at?
FXO Wolf?
Ooh,
Where'd they message you at if they had to say anything to you?
probably message FXO Wolf and tell him to get at me, and I'll answer the question.
You can follow him at Torch Gaming. He's being modest. You can also follow GOMTV at GOMTV. Should definitely recommend doing that. Also, definitely check out GOMTV.net. And
Yeah, so this was the first day of the GSTL Venus. It was very exciting matches. This is going to be a 10-week league, and then after that there will be a 3-week playoff. So
look at that down there. The Code A and Code S will be next week as well, so don't forget about those.
And for next week only, Code A will also be in the morning slot, which is starting at 1:10 p.m. Korean Standard Time. That's 12:10 a.m.
Yeah, so it's not
Eastern
that late
Standard
for you
Time.
guys in the U.S. on the East Coast.
Yep.
And if you're on the West Coast, it's really not that late. You can eat dinner while you watch it.
If you're in Europe, sorry.
Yeah, well, you guys
There's
had the better
VODs.
end of the stick. You guys had the better end of the stick some of the other times, so
Yeah.
now it's your turn to just kind of stay up super late.
But we are trying to work on that. There are a few solutions that are being toyed with, and we are going to
Don't
continue
worry.
to try to bring you
We're
better and
listening
better.
to what you guys have to say here at the GSL.
And the GSTL.
And the Code A and the Code S and the Super Tournament.
Ooh. All right.
I listen to everything you guys say, and the people above me listen to everything you guys say. Seriously, it does get communicated to us. As long as you're talking about it, people know.
And they know very much, and they are trying to fix everything. However, it does take time.
All right, so next Thursday at 6:10 Korean Standard Time, we've got TSL versus Prime. That's going to be the Jupiter match. Thursday is the Jupiter match. That's why it's called Jupiter.
And if you guys want to see any of the in-depth schedules, go to GOMTV.net. It should all be there under the GSTL page.
Yep.
GSTL Season 1, the GSTL February, March, May were all the preseasons where there were more tournaments instead of a league. So this is the start of the true StarCraft 2 Team League.
Yeah, this is the real GSTL. The other ones were fun. They're a prerequisite, but this is like Pro League. This goes on for a while. Teams play against each other in different groups. Then we go to playoffs. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. It's been fun working with you, Torch, and have a great weekend.